So this is based on research that has been validated over about 30 years now. There's actually a tool called DISC, but you don't have to take the tool. I'm going to teach you all about what you need to know. And it looks at observable behavior, 4 scales of observable behavior: problems, people, pace, and procedures. D, which stands for dominance, is how we handle problems and challenges. I, which stands for influencing, how we interact with people. S, which stands for steadiness, how I deal with steady pace and environment. C, which stands for compliance, how I handle rules and procedures specifically set by others. Now, what's really neat about this is it's observable behavior. So each of the behavioral styles has 4 categories. It's the tone of voice someone uses, it's the pace of their speech and their action, it's words that they'll use, and it's body language. So when you think about we like people we like, what we're looking for is how closely do I match you on these scales, okay? So 18% of the population is strongest when people are highest on one of the 4 scales, and we call them core on that scale. 18% of the population is core D. These are your very assertive, very aggressive, go out and gain those results kinds of people, okay? My line for them is, bottom line me. You know, you're trying to tell somebody about, and you can tell that they are just getting impatient, hurry up, get to the end, that's your strong D. Now, they are the only behavioral style that actually likes conflict. In fact, you get 2 people high on this scale, they will fight about something they agree on, because it's just kind of fun to fight. Debate, challenge. So you think about, if you're not high on this scale, I promise you, if I went around to each one of you and I asked you about someone you know, you are going to tell me this is a difficult person. Because these are the people who, you know, you're talking too slow, I'm going to cut you off right in the middle because I have somewhere I have to get to. And quite honestly, you're standing in my way. That's this kind of style. Now, each of the scales has an emotion. For the D, it's anger. So it also comes across as impatience and frustration, because it's that hurry up, hurry up. Now, the thing is, if we had somebody very strong D here and we interviewed them, they would say, hey, you know what? I'm a leader. I get stuff done. I'll take an unpopular position. I don't mind. I'm fearless. So the thing about behavioral style is we interpret it. If it isn't ours, we interpret it as negative. But in fact, every style has its positive points and its places that it gets somebody into trouble. Now, 28% of the population is core I. These are your outgoing, verbal, friendly, charming, engaging kinds of people. They'll smile a lot, they'll ask you about your weekend, they want to talk, they're optimistic terms, things are going to get better. Well, if I'm not that style, you're doing that, I think you're a little too glib and overly friendly for my taste. But if I'm not high on the scale, you perceive me as unfriendly and uninteresting. And it's not, it's just that I'm not very verbal. 40% of the population is core S. Now this is an interesting scale. This is people on this scale, the emotion is actually non-emotion. They are very calm, very stoic, very non-emotional people. So they will not show you if they like what you're saying, if they don't like what you're saying. They would be able to sit and listen for very, very long periods of time and never show you whether or not they were engaged with what's going on. And yet they may be perfectly engaged with you. But their style is just a very stoic style. So they're much calmer, more kind of processed, thoughtful, step by step. And so the conflict there is, if that's not my scale, I might be somebody emotive, hard on my sleeve, I'm moving around, I'm changing things up, and that is very disruptive to the person who needs calm, pace, slow it down. They actually have a need to accommodate, so I say their thing is, I'll get that done for you. Because if you happen to be highest on the scale, you will find yourself sometimes taking on work or responsibilities or commitments that belong to somebody else, but you do them. Now the thing is, what happens with the strong S is they get to a certain point where they're a little bit perturbed that they've been asked to take on all this.
You don't know it.
You don't know it until you get to the point where it's like, I've had enough, and then you can hold a grudge. It's like, don't come and ask me again. But it takes a long, long, long time. We call it sometimes a service style, very much about to serve. Lastly, the C's, compliance. So this is about rules and procedures specifically set by others. Now these are people who are very good at what we might call like quality control. Oftentimes they'll gravitate to like a role or a position or some place in life where their job is ensure things are done right. You know, you would never want to get on a plane that wasn't inspected by somebody highest on this scale. You know, they make sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. However, they can come across, we move it back to difficult people, as very critical people. You know, anybody that you show them something that you've done, and the first thing that they do is show you what you didn't do right. Oftentimes, that's your high C. Now, if that's my trigger, or that's not my style, I get really offended by that. But in fact, these people, their value that they add is they make sure it's right. They just happen to see the world as what needs to be fixed. Okay? Very much about data and analysis.